Okay, so I think I'm recording now. Okay, so I'm going to tell a personal story. I haven't done that in a while. I usually just create content. That's what I've been doing lately. But I have a few videos where I've told personal stories. Here is one. So a little bit of background. If you watch enough of my videos, you can pretty much. I've hinted at where I've grown up. Actually, you could probably guess where I'm from if you watch enough of my videos. But the town I grew up in is like, at the time, it was around 20-something thousand people. So it's a large town, not quite a small city, but this is in the foothills of Appalachian Mountains. We were in a valley. So if you drove 20 minutes in any direction, you're up in the mountains, right? I have some stories about that I'll tell later, some experiences with going up there and visiting friends and people up there, but that's not where we're going with this one. So I spent the first 2 years after graduating from high school, completing an associate's degree, and eventually I would move to the big city and go to the big state university. But there was this 2-year period where I was still hanging out with a lot of people that I was friends with from high school who never went anywhere. Because most of the people I was friends with in high school, I kind of had two groups of friends. I had the ones who were destined to go to college, and a lot of them went on to, complete graduate degrees. A few of them got professional degrees, some doctors, some lawyers, or whatever. And then I had my group of friends who were never going to go to college. So the ones that I was hanging out with at this time were the ones who were never going to college. Now, none of my friends were bad people per se. They weren't breaking the law or anything, but they were going to just stay in the town, probably maybe never move off, and they were working, right? They were working in the factories, or some of them had already, as soon as they hit 18, 19, they had gotten married, or at least got their girlfriends pregnant. They were set for life for the next several decades. Quite honestly, if they're happy with that, God bless them, right? So during this 2-year period of time, one of the jobs I have while going to school is I work at the mall. Much of my social life from my teens to my really early 20s was the mall. This is the mid 90s to the very, very, very early 2000s. So if you're my age, you know the thing. The mall was a thing, right? Kevin Smith even made a movie about that shit, right? So there was this other guy who worked at the mall, and he was a pretty nice guy. We were friendly. Like I wouldn't say I'd say we were just close enough to say, well, we were friends. Like, I'll put it this way: like, if I were on a lunch break and I ran into him, I may be like, hey man, you want to get lunch with me? And he probably would, but he wouldn't be anyone I would, outside of work, outside of being at the mall, would I call up and let's hang out, right? But the thing is that you can guess this area has a bunch of, and I mean this in not in a derogatory way. I mean, there's definitely a derogatory connotation to it, but like shit-kicking rednecks, right? No other way to put it. Shit-kicking rednecks. Now, not every shit-kicking redneck is like a racist or a whatever, but so get that out of the way, right? You guys probably know some, good old boys. Not all of them are that, So the guy I'm going to talk about, he doesn't come off as that. But let's just say it's a type of performative masculinity. So my friend who works at the mall, he would piss off a lot of people because he is kind of the antithesis of that. He's always jokey. He kind of reminds me a little bit, looking back at it, of Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. He's not very serious. He doesn't do the performative masculinity. And the thing I think that irritated a lot of the kind of like, the Realtree camouflage pickup truck driving shit kicking rednecks is that this guy was constantly with girls, and most of the girls were pretty nice looking. Because the thing is he was funny and he was nice. And I think it irritated them. And then on top of that, this guy had like I think it was a Trans Am from the 1970s. It was a pretty nice car. Because he worked, he worked. So at the time, I'm about 20. I think this guy had maybe just turned 18. And one of these the shit kicking redneck scratches the hell out of his car, just keys the shit out of his car, right? So the guy who keys his car, my friend, he has to confront him. He has to do something. So he goes up to him and say, hey, this is the most small town Appalachian ass shit ever. There's a Heister plant not that far from where the mall was. So they're going to go to behind the Heister plant, which is like this wooded area. It's kind of a clearing, and fight. I think sometimes people will go out there and they would, I think in the same area, people would sometimes go mudding, and they would have bonfires there on the weekend. Guys, I've already said, it's the foothills of Appalachia. I know I don't sound like I'm from the foothills of Appalachia. I know I don't sound like that. If you get me around other people from that area, the accent will come out. Like I wish I had it. I wish I either had the really strong, like it would be cool. It'd be like a black dude, like this really strong mountain accent. I don't. And this is why I don't sound like I'm from the city either, because I'm not, right? So literally on the weekend, they go into a behind a Heister plant. And you don't know what a Heister is. It's that thing that they use to lift boxes and whatever. Behind this Heister plant to fight. The place where they usually go mudding and or set up bonfires. Because this is the thing, guys. This is how I grew up, right? So they go out there, but when they go out there, they can't go out there by themselves. Each one of them has to have their friends with them to make sure things don't get out of hand, right? So it's Saturday night, and an old buddy, he comes to me he's like, hey Aaron, this is what happened. Hey man, he scratched up my car. I want to know if you can come out there with me, man. I don't know why I'm sounding like Elvis Presley. Come on, man, come out here for a little bit. I can't do it. If I'm around other people the thing that annoys me is if I were around Marjorie Taylor Greene, for example, it would be like this positive feedback loop where my accent would come out. If you're from the South, you know what I'm talking about. Like if you're from the South, but you've managed to lose your accent, but then you're around other people from the South, it will come out. Especially if you're from like rural South, right? City South just depends. Anyway, going off on a tangent. So my dumb ass is like, all right, man. So me and like 7 other people are going with him to the back of this Heister plant. I didn't even know this dude like this. Like, I didn't know this guy like this, right? Like, why am I doing this? You could be like, man, this is a perfectly good time to throw your life away. That being said, judging the situation, which I judged correctly, it wasn't going to be that serious. It wasn't, right? No one's going to be having guns and nothing. It's not going to be like like a street fight or no shit. So we go out there, and so it's like me and like, I don't know, like maybe 5, 6 of the dudes with him. And then the other guy has some of his friends there. And there's a circle, right? And I think they have like the cars, like several cars have their headlights on, and they're lighting the area. And they go at it. And let me tell you something. My friend gets his ass whooped. I mean, he gets his ass. It ain't even really an ass whooping. I said that wrong. It's more embarrassed than anything else, because you could tell the other guy's heart really wasn't in it. Like he went out there because he had to, but I think as soon as he scratched the car, he kind of knew he was in the wrong and regretted it. So my friend, he's getting worn out. It's more like, instead of getting just hit, he's getting more of this kind of tossed around, because the other guy, who, even though he's maybe an inch or two shorter, my friend, I think we were the same height. I'm 6'2", but I think at the time I was probably around 215 pounds, maybe. I'd say my friend was probably, I would be surprised if he weighed even 150. So he's, if he weighed that much. And the other guy's kind of a stocky guy, corn-fed white boy, mountain boy, chucking his ass around. And at one point, my friend, his face is getting bruised up and even started bleeding a little bit. And you could tell the other guy, he just went into. So eventually what happened was, one of the other guys who was with our group kind of broke it up and started pushing the other guy and said, like, I'm going to whoop your ass, go away. But so it ended. That was that. So, we get in the cars. I think I drove out there with somebody. I don't know why I did that. And we go back to the mall because my car is parked there. And this is for Saturday night. I don't know what I did for the rest of the night. I may have went home. I may have went and met friends. I don't know. But the next morning or afternoon, I'm working again. And one of the guys from out there who was with the other guy said, "Hey man, weren't you out there at that fight last night?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "You're a big guy. Why didn't you do nothing?" And I'm like, and I think my response was, "What the am I supposed to do, man? Like, what really?" Like that was, but homeboy was serious. Like I should have I think I may have said, "Why didn't you stop your damn friend from keying his damn car?" Right? And he looked at me with like this indignant. It's like I'm like, dude, it was your dumbass friend who keyed the car in the first place. Anyway, but I don't think the guy ever paid for the car got keyed. And honestly, it was a nice car too. I don't know. I'm trying to remember. Did he ever get it taken care of? I do not remember. He probably did though, because he really liked that car. It was a nice car. No point to that story. Just wanting to share it.